Hello everyone and welcome to today's video, which features both of my axolotl tanks. Now before we get started, I want to ask you to please subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment. Of course you can do that at the end of the video, but I was told that I should recommend that at the beginning because a lot of people don't watch till the end, and I was like, that's probably true, so I figured I'd get that out of the way. Also, you're going to see that Ron's tank, which is the one that's right in front of us now, does have lights above it and a lid. The lid is only there to hold the lights in place. The lights are only there for the purpose of filming this video. Because he's at like the corner of a window, see right there, he does get quite a bit of light into his enclosure, not like a lot, but enough to establish a day-night cycle and to keep his Java fern alive. So he normally doesn't have lights, but the tank below him, Harry's tank, does have lights because Harry doesn't have access to a window and he's underneath of this, giant tank that Ron's in, so it doesn't really get a lot of light. So I do have lights on a dimmer, and I'll get to those when I film Harry's section. But just before anybody comments, oh my god, your axolotl tanks are so bright, don't worry, this is not normal. For those who don't know, axolotls don't have eyelids, so they can't close their eyes, and they like it dark, so they prefer not to have bright lights, so don't come for me. This is just for the purposes of filming. There's going to be a lot of equipment mentioned in this video that is specific to an axolotl, such as, like a sponge filter or a aquarium fan or light dimmers. We'll get to it, but when I get to it, I'll explain everything in detail, so please don't ask questions until the very end of the video. That way you can see if I explained everything that you might have had a question about earlier in the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. In front of us is Ron's 40-gallon breeder. Now Ron isn't a 40-gallon breeder because he's a particularly large axolotl, and you can kind of see him hiding in his cave right here. I didn't realize Ron was so big until I got another axolotl, and I thought, this axolotl, is something wrong with him. He's not growing. He's not as big as Ron. And then I saw other people's axolotls and I was like, holy cow, Ron is just really, really big. I would say to measure Ron, he's at least the size of my forearm. Like, he is so long. So when I first got Ron, I had him in a 20-gallon long, which is bigger than the minimum. A lot of people say the minimum for an axolotl is 10 gallons. Please don't keep your axolotl in 10 gallons unless it is a baby and it's not full grown yet. I've actually never kept any of my axolotls in a 10 gallon. They've always been in 20 gallons or larger. And I find that the or larger part is definitely necessary because axolotls are big amphibians and they produce a lot of waste, and also if you have a bigger tank you can do more with the space, which as you can see there's a giant piece of Manzanita Driftwood here, which we'll get to in a minute. But Ron is a substantial axolotl, and after having him in a 20 long I wanted to upgrade him, and I had tried upgrading him to a 40 breeder one time and I put it on my dresser, which I thought would hold the weight, and it did not. It buckled, so I had to remove it. And then sometime later I bought a stand and rearranged my room so I could actually put him in the 40 breeder. So like I said, Ron's in a 40 breeder, which is 36 inches long by 18 inches deep. I think it's 16 inches tall, 18 inches tall, something like that. But the height isn't as important as the length of an aquarium, because axolotls will, it depends on the axolotl, because Harry uses every square inch of the tank. But Ron, because he kind of just like dwells at the bottom and he only swims around like a couple times a day to get air from the surface, he really utilizes the bottom portion of the tank, the floor space, rather than the height. So I wanted to give him a tank that was substantially larger than a 20 long, and that's where the 40 breeder came into play. So the 40 breeder is filled with 2 sponge filters which are attached with suction cups to the back. You can see them right here and right here. And I love sponge filters because they don't have a lot of like fast output, and that's important for axolotls because they don't like a fast water current. If you notice that your axolotl is like constantly having curled gills, it could be an indication of the water current being too fast or the water being too hot. That's actually a sign of stress in axolotls, for those who don't know. I also like sponge filters because they are great at keeping the beneficial bacteria booming. I think I didn't know about sponge filters when I was keeping aquatics. I was using hang-on back filters and the canister filters and the internal filters. I was using everything but a sponge filter. And then one day I tried a sponge filter, and let me just tell you, I have not gone back. Like, I use sponge filters for everything since then. I have sponge filters in my African dwarf frog tank, both my axolotl tanks, and for a long time I was using a sponge filter in my fire-bellied toad tank, but because they have a waterfall feature now, they have a different filter. But I love, love, love sponge filters, and they're super cheap and they always work. So if you want to know how a sponge filter works, I'm sure there's videos out there. I'm not going to go into detail, but they're just absolutely wonderful for axolotls. So we have 2 of the filters in the back. If they look small for this tank, they're actually rated for 40 gallons each, so that's technically 80 gallons worth of filtration. But they do kind of look small in comparison to the tank, I think, because the tank is just so big. And then we also have a bunch of fake plants. There's 3 main fake plants right here. And the reason for the fake plants is just because I have trouble keeping plants alive in the cold water of an axolotl tank. I've only been able to keep Java fern alive, which is why you see like a bunch of Java fern right here. I actually am getting more Java fern for both of the enclosures. I plan to put more back here where the sun is, and I just like didn't want to throw a bunch of Java fern in at once. I wanted to get some, see how it did, and then get more. It's doing great, so I'm going to get more next week. But I really wanted to finish this video and put it out there because I haven't shared my axolotls on my channel much, if at all. And people probably don't even know I have them, but there's a reason for that, and I'll explain it later when I give you a closer look at Mr. Ron, who's still chilling in his house. So the big centerpiece of this tank is obviously the Manzanita Driftwood, which I got from manzanitadirect.com, and it comes from California. I don't know if they ship outside the country, so if that's a question you have, you'll have to look at their website. But basically, Manzanita Driftwood is just this gorgeous, like it's almost white when you buy it, and then when you let it sink in the water and you let it absorb the water, it turns to that gorgeous red-brown color. I absolutely love it. Okay guys, all of a sudden I started losing my voice and nothing is stopping it, so I don't know if just the rest of the video is going to sound like this, but my apologies. So the reason that I got Manzanita Driftwood from Manzanita Direct is because you can pick the exact piece that you want. So there's a problem that you come across when ordering driftwood online, and that is that normally you just get what you get and you can't pick specifically how it looks, and that drives me absolutely nuts because I have a vision in my mind of what I want it to look like before I even buy the wood. And so with Manzanita Direct, they give you the option to pick a piece of wood individual, like based on exactly what it looks like, and they have it like set up in like 5 or 6 different ways so you can see how it would best look for you in the tank. And they also have a bunch of measurements like nearby so you can get every single measurement that you need. So I was able to pick this piece of driftwood perfectly sized for Ron's 40 breeder, and I absolutely love it. Now, it's not like Malaysian driftwood, which sinks like as soon as you put it in the water. It will float for a few weeks, and so what I did was I adhered this bottom portion over here to a large slate tile, and you'll see them in Harry's tank down below, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I adhered it with aquarium safe silicone, and then I put it in there and buried it under the sand a little bit so you can't see it. This end still floated for a couple weeks, but now of course it has settled. I was waiting forever to film this video because I was like waiting for the Java fern to make sure it lived, waiting for the driftwood to sink. So it's just like gorgeous. It's exactly what I wanted. Like, it's simple, but it's also so beautiful. And the wood is perfect for Ron because it doesn't take up a lot of floor space, because there's still a lot of like nooks and crannies he can get under and move around. Oh, are you gonna come out, Ronald? Oh, we might get lucky and see him come out. Come on, you big goofy water elephant. Come on. Oh, maybe not. Well, we'll get there in a minute. If it looks like he's wearing a mask, it's because he technically is. We'll get there in a second. So, this Manzanita Driftwood, I absolutely love it. Now, a lot of times with driftwood, you will get a little bit of like this white film that grows on the driftwood. That is completely safe and will go away on its own. It'll probably take a few weeks to a month or two, but this one only grew it like right here and it's gone now. So that was super fast. I love that. And it was my major concern because I hate when I have driftwood and it grows that white film, because I'm just like, listen, I'm just trying to have my tank look beautiful, okay? And you're ruining it. So it actually worked really well and I'm super happy about it. The last 2 things I want to talk about in this tank are the bubbles back here. There is a bubble wand and it is controlled with a valve switch. So it's not full blast, and actually only a small portion of the air goes through. So it looks like, oh god, that could really disturb the water flow. It doesn't, and Ron absolutely loves bubbles ever since he first lived with me. He loves like laying over top of them. He loves to eat them, so basically he loves to just open his mouth and take in the air, which I find hysterical. He just really likes it, so there's a very slow output of air, so it's not too much to disturb the water flow or make it too busy down there for him. But yeah, it's not essential to have that, but he really enjoys it, so I have it for him. And lastly, we have his cave, which is like the one thing in addition to like the plants he's had for forever, for as long as I've had him, which I got him in April of 2015, so I've had him for a long time now. 4 years, bud. We've been together for 4 years, which makes him like, he's like 6 years old now, I think. Which is actually really important to something that I'll get to in a minute. I know I keep saying that, I'm sorry, I'm dumb. But the cave is from Petco. It had like sharp resin corners, so I sanded those down when I first got it, but other than that, he's had it for years, and he really enjoys an actual physical cave, which is something completely different from Harry. Harry prefers not to have a physical cave. All he wants to do is swim. We call him the swim, which basically means he nonstop swims. It's so funny to see how different Ron and Harry are. Like, they're the same species, but they're so different. And I like having both of them because for a while I was like thinking that all axolotls were like Ron. You know, they're really big, they're really like lazy creatures, like just this massive creature under the water. And then I get Harry, who's like this little swim, and I'm like, wow, what a difference this is. So anyways, the one last thing that I need to mention is the sand. So the sand at the bottom, some people prefer not to use sand. I prefer to use sand. I actually had him on sand for a couple years, and then for like the first, I don't know, maybe the first year, maybe the first like 6 months of having him in the 40-gallon breeder, I didn't have sand. And that was just because I didn't have enough to transfer and I wanted to get completely new sand. And then eventually I just wanted to see how he would do without sand, and I think he definitely prefers the texture of sand or some sort of texture underneath his feet rather than just a bare bottom tank. So he has Carob Naturals white sand. It's like $5 for 10 pounds. You can get it online, you can get it from Petco. I have used this sand in every single enclosure that I've needed sand for. I absolutely love it. It's super easy to clean. It doesn't mess with water quality. It looks gorgeous. Like, it's super fine, which is something I need for tanks. Like, when I use sand, I don't want a really coarse sand. I want a nice fine sand. And that's what I got, and I've used it for years, and I love it. Now, granted, not all Supernaturals sand are going to be the same because some of them are more textured, some of them are different colors, so I can only speak to this one type of Supernatural sand. With that said, let's go ahead and get a closer look at Mr. Ronald here. So this is my boy Ronald. If you see all those little flecklies in the water, don't worry, those are completely safe. They're like tiny little, oh, I always forget what they're called, but they're beneficial to the tank. They don't hurt Ron, they don't hurt Harry. A lot of times you'll get them with live plants. They really like driftwood. They help to eat all the nasties that can form in an aquarium. I always forget what they're called, so please leave it in the comments if you remember what they're called. But they're not ick, it's not a parasite, don't worry. When I first saw them, I freaked out, and then like a very fast Google search fixed that for me. So anyways, Ron is a freckled leucistic axolotl, which means that he is leucistic, so he's white, and he has freckling all over his body and face, so that black spotting you see on his face, it does carry down his body and his tail. Now, one thing I want to mention about Ron that's different from other axolotls is that he has some issues. Like, I'm not sure if they're genetic or if it was caused by an injury. I was not led to believe it was caused by an injury. He has a prolapsed cloacal, and basically what that means is that his genitalia, which would be inside of the cloacal, is exposed. So it kind of just looks like a flower blooming, honestly. That's like the best, prettiest way I could describe it. It's pretty obvious, like as soon as you look at him, that, oh, that's not normal. Like, you can tell that it's pretty bulbous, it's pretty easy to notice. And, oh, he might come out. And then I was told when I got him not to house him with females, that he can't reproduce, that was vet recommended. He came from a situation of rehoming in which a person had purchased him as a baby to breed because a freckled leucistic is a really pretty axolotl. And then they decided, you know, once the prolapse happened, which was about, I think they said like at 8 months of age, that obviously he couldn't be bred, and so he had to be rehomed to a pet-only home. Now, I'm not sure if it was genetic. I have a feeling that it could have come from poor genetics, but really, we'll never know because there was no indication that it came from an injury or anything like that. But regardless, he seems plenty happy housed alone and not with the ladies, and I'm not trying to be a breeder, so I have no problems with that. One more thing I want to talk about is his gills. Now, Ron has not had pretty gills for a long time, and it's not due to water quality, it's not due to injury or anything like that, it's not due to, you know, being too hot or whatever. I actually talked to many breeders about this because when it first started happening, I was really upset, you know, because it's my first axolotl, I figured I was doing something wrong, so of course I reached out to people. And they said that this can happen with bad genetics and age, and that with his prolapse coacle, it's possible that his gills look unappealing because he has bad genetics, and the coacle is maybe another indication of that. So when I got Harry, and I saw how beautiful Harry's gills were, and I was possible of maintaining his beautiful gills, you know, because there's always a little bit of self-doubt when it comes to a special needs animal. Am I doing everything I possibly can to make sure that this animal has the best life? Why aren't Ron's gills as beautiful as they should be, as fluffy and feathery as they should be? And it just comes down to the fact that he's a little bit of an older guy, and he's got bad genetics. So I'm always hesitant to show him on my Instagram or my YouTube, because I don't want people to think that axolotl gills are supposed to look like this, because they're not. They're supposed to be beautiful, feathery, you know, they're supposed to look healthy, and his don't look healthy, and they haven't for a long time now, and that's why I haven't shared him as much. But he's in good health. He's not underweight, he eats, he, you know, gets around his enclosure, he likes to walk. He doesn't like to swim, he likes to walk. And I wonder if that's due to his size as well. He's just a really big axolotl, and he might not look that big in his cave, but he is the entire length of this cave. So let me see if I can indicate how long that is. Like, he's a pretty long axolotl. He goes all the way back to the end of that cave. But anyways, that's my Ron, and you know, if you want to, in the comments down below, tell me that XYZ is the reason his gills are bad, please feel free to do so, even if you think that it's my error. But I hope when I show you Harry, who I've had now for 2 years, almost 2 years, a year and a half, that you realize that I'm capable of taking care of an axolotl with having beautiful gills, and that Ron might just have poor genetics. Oh, that's my Ronnie boy. Are you coming out, buddy? Are you gonna come out and take a breath? He's gonna come out, y'all. We so lucky. So as you can see, his bottom gills, they're still feathering, but the top ones don't have it. He also has veins that like split out of his gills, which I was freaking out about before as well, but they said that this can happen with bad genetics and with age. So how you doing, buddy? Are you gonna show everyone your beauty? Are you gonna show everyone your beauty? He's just gonna sit there. He's gonna tease us. He's gonna show us just his face. Meanwhile, this whole time I've been filming, Harry has been swimming back and forth the whole time. Wait till I show you Harry. Harry's a hoot. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, both aquariums are fitted with an aquarium fan, and that is to keep the water temperature cool. So axolotls come from a region in Mexico that is at a really high elevation, and so the water there is super cold, and so you want to replicate that in your home, which can be difficult because normal household temperatures, especially in the summer, are not cold. So you want to try and maintain the temperature below 70 degrees at all times, and in fact having it in the low to mid 60s is better than having it towards the high end of 70. Now granted, that can be really hard to achieve in the summer weather, but if you can't keep it below 70, then you shouldn't get an axolotl, because really it's just going to cause stress for your axolotl, and you don't want that. Now, if you have an aquarium fan and it like stops working, you're gonna have to quickly buy a new one because the water temperature will rise. During that time period, you can use frozen water bottles, but you don't want to cool it more than a couple degrees every hour because that could send them into shock. So you want to just use like a couple bottles every hour and then switch it out when they're thawed, and keep doing that to keep the water temperature down until you can replace your aquarium fan or your aquarium chiller. The way that an aquarium fan works, oh, we might get lucky. You gonna come out? You gonna go to the top for a gulp? Let's see. Oh no, it's not focused. So while we're waiting for him to decide, the aquarium fan works by basically evaporating the water quickly. And so what that does, obviously you'll have to, you know, put more water in your tank. That's something you have to do. But the evaporation process cools the water. So it's really good to have an aquarium fan. Look how cute you are. You're just a lovely boy. See, his gills aren't beautiful. And honestly, like, it makes me feel so bad. Like, I hate showing him off and thinking that someone might think it's okay that their axolotl's gills look like this, which if he's old and has poor genetics, you know, or was poorly cared for in the past, it's possible, but his gills just aren't as beautiful as some of the other axolotls. Uh-oh, we're gonna get lucky, y'all. We're gonna get lucky. He's gonna show us. He's so slow moving compared to Harry. One reason that I wanted to give him that driftwood was to like help propel his big old body to the surface so he can gulp the water. Some people might think that his water is too high, but he reaches it every time, so there's not a concern there. Also, I love his feet. I love their like little star-shaped toes. A couple weeks back, I was sleeping and I heard like a huge splash in one of their tanks. Like, it sounded like they breached the water, and I was like, who did that? And I quickly turned on my flashlight and I looked and I couldn't tell who it was. Go for it, swim swam. There he goes. So here you can see his prolapse. See, he's gonna gulp and right back down. To my house, goodbye. So you can see his prolapse right there. See how it sticks out? Yeah, that is completely not normal, not supposed to happen. How are you doing, friend? Here's my swim swam. Okay, so as you can see, Harry is a much smaller axolotl in comparison, but he's actually quite normal sized. I was actually very self-conscious about it for a while. I was like, Harry, why aren't you growing? But it just so happens that not all axolotls are going to be Ron's size. This is a pretty normal size for an axolotl. So this is Harry. Harry is doing a swim swam. I love him to bits. Look at him. He reminds me of a blobfish in the face. So later on when we get a close-up of him, he looks like a blobfish. Oh, it's so cute. So as you can see, Harry has a lot of feathering on his gills. So it's not an issue of not like knowing how to care for them or how to keep up their water quality. It's just an issue of I think him being so old and having such poor genetics. And he could be older than 6. 6 is an estimate. So anyways, let's take a tour of Harry's tank here. So Harry also has Manzanita Driftwood. He also has 2 sponge filters. He also has an aquarium fan. He has the same Supernaturals sand. He also has the like bubble wand or bubble like flat tube thing. I can't remember what they're called. But see, it only puts out bubbles over here and bubbles over there. So it also has a control valve on it to make sure that it doesn't just blast air. Because if you have them on high, they blast air, like some serious air. Look at him swim. So cute. Anyways, so he also has the Java Fern here and here. It looks like he has more, but it's just because his tank is smaller. They actually have the same amount of bundles, but both of them will be getting more, especially Ron's tank. You're so cute, look at you go! And he also has the same fake plants in the background. And his Manzanita Driftwood actually was not what I picked out for him, but I also picked out a different piece based on a different size tank. So Harry is in a 29-gallon size enclosure, and that is 30 inches long by 12 inches deep by I think it's like 16 inches tall. It's basically the height of a 20-gallon tall and the length of a 20-gallon long, which is a really nice tank, and he really seems to enjoy it. Now before this, I had him in a 20-gallon long, and that was the size I picked Manzanita Driftwood for. So I actually picked this really lovely piece for him. But when I put it in this tank, it didn't look good because it didn't fill the top part of the tank, it filled the bottom. And so Manzanita Driftwood was kind enough to send me extra pieces, and these are the 2 extra pieces that they sent. So there's a piece that goes this way and there's a piece that goes this way. And I decided just like to fork them together and like see what type of, you know, shape they'd make, and I was like, that's actually really great because he loves to swim, so it's pretty, but it's out of the way. So like he can still use like a lot of the length of his enclosure without having to be encumbered by driftwood. He's so cute. Look at him. Oh my god. Oh my god. When did you get so cute? Oh, little baby. Okay, back to the tour. So he has the Manzanita Driftwood. Both of it is anchored to tiles just like these. So the same tile I mentioned earlier in Ron's tank is the tile that holds down, or the slate rock or whatever that holds down his, is the same one that you're going to see right here. That sentence was horrible and drawn out, and I apologize. But he has his driftwood also anchored with that slate, and then he also has 2 pieces of slate just to offer a little bit of hide or shade if he wants it, but he never really hides. He just kind of like swims around and floats, and he's just cute. Like, he doesn't ever hide. I've tried all kinds of different hides. I've tried different caves. I've tried like stacking the rocks together to make a bigger cave. I've tried just using it as it is now, and frankly he won't use any hide at all. Like, I don't know what it is about him. He's more fish than axolotl. Please don't call axolotls fish, by the way. They're not fish, they're amphibians. It's like a huge pet peeve of mine, but he's, I think, actually like the spirit of a fish trapped in an axolotl body, because all he does is swim. And like I said, the day and night difference between his personality and Ron's is just huge. So let's go over it one more time. He's got 2 sponge filters, 2 fake plants, a bunch of Java fern live plants. He's got the Supernaturals, or Carob Sea Supernaturals white sand. He's got the air bar or air tube, whatever this is called, that is attached with a valve, so it doesn't put a lot of bubbles out. It doesn't put a lot of air out to disturb the water flow. And then he also has the 2 slate rocks to provide some cave if he wants them. Let's go get a close-up look at him, and we'll also feed him. Now, the reason I didn't feed Ron on camera is because he eats at night. Like, I'll drop a pellet in there and he won't eat it until nighttime, but Harry will eat any time of day, anytime food is offered. So let's see if I can focus on him. I'm gonna have to take it off the tripod for this, actually. He looks like a blobfish up close. Hello, blobfish. Why is it not focusing on you? Oh, if anyone sees like tiny little white things on his face, it's just like tiny little grains of sand. See how feathery his gills are? That's how they're supposed to look. Oh, and Harry actually has his own video on this channel from way long ago explaining where I got him from. I'll include it in the links below. You want food, Harry? This is what he wants. He wants food. See, he's like, Mother has come with the hands. The hands mean the foods. Nope, that's a fake plant. Come on. Let's eat this way. Yes, yes. Follow me finger. Follow me finger. Yes. You see it? Follow me finger. Yes, this way. This way. Follow me finger. No! Oh, you missed it again. It's alright. We'll try again. Ready? Boop. There you go. Good job. Munch, munch, munch. Oh, he's sinking. Munch, munch, munch. Deliciousness. Was that good? Yums, yums, and my tums. So what I just fed him, I'll actually show you. It is Hikari Massivore pellets. Some people like don't want to feed axolotl pellets and they only feed them worms. I feed a combination of worms and pellets. These are really quality pellets that the person who gave me Ron actually recommended, so I've been using them for years with both of my axolotls and they really like them. So as you can see, Harry is currently looking for more. Alright, I'll give Harry one more pellet and then we'll get a close-up of his beautiful face like a blobfish. And then that'll be the end of the video. Ready? Don't move. Don't. Ah, you moved! Oh my goodness. How am I supposed to judge? Here, come here. Move out the way. Move out the way. Move, move, move. Thank you. Oh god, oh god. He's gonna come for my fingers. Oh my gosh. If it hits you on the face, you must bite. Look, 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 look. Come here. Sit still. Sit still. Ready? Oh my goodness. There you go. Well done, well done. And if you have like a smaller axolotl or a baby axolotl, you can break those up into like smaller pieces, or you can buy the Hikari pellets that are smaller. But I've always used the Hikari Massivore and then just broken them up and it's been fine. There's my pretty boy. There's my pretty boy, always looking for more food. Focus on his pretty face, please. I want to show everyone how you look like a blobfish. Again, calling him a fish, but he's totally not a fish, so please don't call him a fish. See how pretty his gills are? You're supposed to have long, stringy, lovely, feathery gills like this. See, it looks like a blobfish. Look at that. You look like a blobfish. More food, please. Oh, I figured I'd actually also share how dark the enclosures normally are. Don't worry, that towel started to dry up some water when I was feeding the axolotl. My arm got wet. So this is how dark both the tanks actually are in comparison to when I had lights on them for the video. So I didn't show off the aquarium fans or the lights, which was totally absent-minded of me. So this is one of the aquarium fans. Harry's tank has 2 fans and Ron's tank has 3. They're a little dusty because they need some cleaning, but don't worry, that's very easy to do. They're actually attached or adhered by silicone because I couldn't get them to stay on, like, on the lip of the aquarium. It's too high. There's a lot of people actually in the comments of the Amazon, or the reviews of the Amazon, had the same problem, so silicone fixed that for me. Now, the lighting I have is some under cabinet strip lights that are LEDs. They don't put off heat. They come with a dimmer. You can connect them. It's really great. That's what I use. And you can find them on Amazon. Alright, say bye, Harry. Getting both the axolotl tanks in one shot was so incredibly difficult. I am literally at my wall at the other end of the room. Actually kind of sitting on my dog Sam, who's in bed right now. But I wanted to get like both tanks in the same shot. Maybe you guys could see the comparison of the size, and maybe you could see, I don't know, just both tanks. Anyways, that's my tiger salamander right up there, actually. Beep boop beep. Where's my arm? Where's my arm? There it is. That's my tiger salamander enclosure. And those are some of my crested gecko enclosures. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing both my axolotls and both of their tanks. If you have any questions, now's the time to leave them down below, because if I missed anything, that's my bad, and now it's your turn to ask me questions so I can make up for whatever I missed in the video. And also, I hope you really enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!